Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of GeekVerse podcast. I am one of your hosts. I guess I'm still the Scooby-Doo Taylor Field, and I'm joined by...
I wondered what that nickname was. Maybe sounds like not related at all, but I am the Adam Hart caster, Dylan Musk.
Yes, and we are here tonight continuing our streak of the It's Welcome to Derry TV show. We are on episode 6 tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh, it's going to be a good time. Before we get into our quick non-spoilers and spoilers thoughts, check us out on the Patreon. We get ad-free, early exclusive content available there. And our Patreon producers, Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superbad Mike, The Good God Loves Me 69, Charlie Randell, Cocktail Clay, John with No H, Sam Green. That is just a roster right there. A magnificent lineup. Love it. Yeah, and then other quick plugs that we got going on. We did a Running Man review. What else did we do? We got newscasts. And I feel like it's just been a bit of a break between... the last time I was on an episode, but I know that Travis did the Stranger Things, the first volume review.
Right.
So definitely go check out that. And what about SideQuest, Dylan? What's popping off?
Well, yeah, this week will be a fun one. We're going to have the whole squad on for Game Awards predictions. Game Awards is not this coming week, but the week after. So, yeah, this week we're going to have all of us doing predictions on there for the categories and some announcements. And then next week, I'll do my little solo casting my votes thing. And then, yeah, we'll have some coverage of that. So it should be hopefully some big juice at the Game Awards. Usually a couple big trailers there at the very least. Just fun to see what wins and all that good stuff. So, yeah, should be a good couple weeks of side questing.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, I think in the upcoming movies, I think the only real thing we got cooking is Avatar this month. And I know Travis is like 50-50, but leaning into a no. So I think it's going to be a me and Kirkland. Unless you feel
I'm okay.
into it.
I'm good. No, you guys got it. You guys got it. Yeah, I don't want to get any more hate mail from James Cameron fans. So
Right. They're lurking. They're always lurking. Cool. Well, without further ado, Dylan, what were you feeling? What's your temperature on this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I hinted to you before we started here that like if I don't have much to say about this episode, and I kind of think that's par for the course. I feel like I should get some stats on this, but I feel like episode 6 of an 8-episode thing is like kind of a low point in a lot of series, like the penultimate episodes where you want that big juice, then you want to close it out strong. And so I feel like the 6th spot is kind of where we're just, I don't know, nothing much is happening. We're just kind of dragging things out a little bit. And I kind of feel like this episode to me is, like every movie, no matter what, whether it's comedy or drama or an action, always like kind of between the second and third act, there's always this point when like the protagonists of the movie like have a little breakup and they're mad at each other and they're not talking, and there's like a little montage of them doing their own solo thing, and they're sad and they're dejected and their heads down, and then they always come back together, and then like Act 3 happens, they win, they save the day, everyone's happy. That was this episode. So it was like 30 minutes of like characters just being mad at each other, and it's meaningless because we all know next week they're going to get back together, make their final plan, and then the weekend after that they're going to defeat it and the series will be over. So it just felt like we were dragging our heels here a little bit, at least if all goes to plan. But I just can't imagine any of these characters that got mad at each other this week are actually going to stay mad at each other. They already kind of got over it, so it just felt like we were kind of doing nothing. But then there is one huge lore dump character thing in this episode that I honestly feel a little under equipped to talk about it almost. I feel like I don't get it fully, so we can have that fun conversation because I need to hear what your interpretation of this is. And it's potentially huge and really interesting, and has big implications for like the series as a whole, if you want to say that. Also, I wanted to have one shout out here at the top is for anyone who's not in our Discord, definitely join our Discord, because every week April, one of the Patreon producers over there, she's always jumping in the chat that we have and dropping just like amazing bits of lore and like connection of characters, things that go way over my head. And it's always a bit of like correction after we do the review and I'm reading through that. I'm like, oh yeah, I missed all this stuff. So definitely join the Discord and just read that stuff. I find it fascinating, but I'm at the point where I can't wait to hear what her interpretation is of this stuff in this episode, because she'll probably have all these other connections that I don't have. So interesting in the back half there with some of that stuff, but overall as the episode, a little bit of drag, but like I said, I kind of expected that somewhat. And yeah, I do think we are set up for what should be a good 1-2 punch penultimate final episode combo. But this episode was just a bridge we had to cross. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one.
Yeah, well said. It's it's pretty in line with how you put it with movies having that kind of tribulation amongst our heroes, like, oh, they're breaking off, like your Goblet of Fire, where Harry and Ron are just kind of, and that's
Literally like
exactly this.
95% of movies have that in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, even the first, like, chapter one did that too, right? With the Losers Club, they broke off for a little bit there, so it's
Yeah.
just
Yep.
it's
And
kind of a
chapter two.
staple.
Like,
And chapter two,
it's always happening. Yeah.
it's always happening. Yeah, so yes, you're getting that dynamic in here, and there's the one very interesting big kind of reveal with that one character that's going to be interesting to break down. But I don't think there wasn't really a huge amount of juice in this episode. I will admit, even though the show is still at a really really warm temperature for myself, and there was one kind of cinematic thing they did here that kind of ties into the character that we'll break down and talk about.
Yeah.
Where visually, I was so on board with it. I thought it was really really cool, but I'm lacking an understanding of it. So come tomorrow, I'm going into the Discord. I'm going to be like, April, you got to drop some details here for me, because I'm kind of at a loss myself. It's definitely trying to, I don't want to say fill the void, but just kind of pave the road a little bit and show off a little bit more. I guess just with the lore and things like that. That aside, I made a prediction, and this is not a spoiler, last week, that I thought Halloran is going to be kind of out of the picture. He is not out of the picture. So
He's around.
again, he's around, and again, everything with him, I'm eating it up. It just feels like, well, he's parallel and he's part of the story with Pennywise. It feels like he's just kind of in his own path forward, and I'm loving all of that. Whenever he talks about like his gifts and he's doing his weird zany things, it's really really awesome to take that in and see it, because I don't know why I've just kind of gravitated to that character in The Shining, and just so seeing him present here, it works for me. But, and a great actor, oh my gosh, really really great actor. But well, how things have gone, this episode has definitely set up a pretty significant penultimate episode, I'd say, because it's 8 episodes, right? So,
Yep.
Okay. So next week it'll be like, okay, things are hitting the fan now. So it'll be interesting to see what goes down there. But other than that, I don't think I really have anything else to add. So we can just get right into this. So what big nugget do you want to start with, spoiler wise?
Yeah, maybe we'll build up to the big thing going on here, and we'll talk about let's talk about your boy Halloran first here. So yeah, interesting fallout for, I guess, all the characters here. From obviously last week was a huge episode with everyone going into the sewers, where there was like multiple groups of characters all going in there, just happened to be at the same time, and now we're getting like the fallout of what all of that means for all of them. And I thought it was really interesting to see what happened to Halloran here, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, obviously going into this place where he obviously had that huge moment, a ton of for everyone it was like just fucking with their minds, but for someone like him who has the Shining and has these powers, I guess it just affects him on like multiple levels, right? And like exponentially more than other people. And so we saw that a lot of people were pretty spooked, and they were pretty freaked out, and obviously it was causing them to lash out against their friends, or in the case of Leroy, like hitting his child, which is like really fucked up, and he blames it directly on that, which is probably true to some extent, also him not being a great guy. But that obviously just shows like how much being in that place and close to Pennywise just kind of has this aura that messes with people. But with Halloran, it just hits on, he has this otherworldly connection that not many people do, and so for him it had like this even greater effect. And then again, like hitting the bottle, just getting drunk and wasted, I feel like that must affect him more than it affects other people too, right? Just like hitting his brain in like different ways, making him react in exponentially stronger ways. And then on top of that, like I was surprised to see that this clubhouse that they were building up is like done now, and they just had like a huge thrasher here. Like I thought this was going to be like a kind of a hidden place, but now obviously it's like extremely public, so much so that there's like a whole squad of people showing up the door. That's kind of like the cliffhanger of the episode. But yeah, what did you think of the Halloran stuff? Because I thought it was really interesting to see like just that extremely pendulum swing that he had of like the high highs. Not that he was having high highs, it was just experiencing really big things, and then he just has like a exponentially bigger traumatic response to it.
Yeah, I mean, I like that the way like the high highs you put that because I feel like he's on base. He's definitely feeling kind of invincible. He's getting what he wants. He can tell the higher ups that hey, I want this, I want that, and he feels like he's I don't want to say untouchable, but he feels very powerful because he's got these abilities and he's got the military backing him, right? So it puts him into a very I don't want to say ego, but a certain type of mindset. And ever since that first episode to where we are now, it's just been kind of getting eroded more and more and more. To now, it's at the point where he needs to be drinking. He can't handle it, and I love it so much how we got that bit of dialogue in this episode where he's breaking down. Okay, when I was young, my grandma, she had this ability too, not as strong as mine, but she taught me how to deal with it and how to put everything in a box. Classic Shining stuff. We've seen all that before, and how he just breaks down how this thing Pennywise went into his mind and just forced that box open and everything came coming out. Now I'm seeing all
Yeah.
this shit again. I'm like, fuck, this is just so cool. And everything that he says too, like, when we went down there, we pissed this thing off. Like this thing doesn't like it. And again, probably one of my favorite scenes, and I'd have to think about all the TV shows that we've seen this year. I haven't really watched many, but even in comparison to movies, that scene when Halloran is just like going and he's holding in the helicopter, touching the artifact, and he just appears in Pennywise's lair, and Pennywise is like, "Who are you?" It's like, fuck, that's got to be one of my favorite scenes, and it's just like cinematic things this year. Is such a good scene. And so since then I feel like Pennywise has just been really kicking him down every chance he gets because this person on a psychic level is such a new and just a rival for Pennywise. So I'm really really liking it, and it'll be interesting to see how he pulls out of this. Again, that conversation with Hanlon or Hanlon's like, you need to do your duty, soldier, and get back in the
Yeah.
fight. And Halloran's like, no, did you not hear a single word I just said? Like, they're saying things that we're not supposed to hear as living people. Like, there's so much juice there. I really love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you on all that. I guess moving along to the kids and what's going on there. So there's kind of multiple things, like I kind of hinted at with like the kind of soft breakup between uh, Ronnie and Lily. They kind of have their little moment there, which like I said, probably just gonna be friends again next episode. And then we even got like a couple kind of romantic little threads. Ronnie and Will, and then also I don't even remember the other two kids' names, but like Lily's friend and the other guy who was ripping up the drums in this episode, which I thought they had like a little goofy scene on that rooftop that's getting a lot of a lot of screen time this season. So there was all that, but the one thing I wanted to ask you about that, because I don't think there's too much of interest for me there, is when Lily was holding I don't know what we're calling it, the spike, the Pennywise meteor fragment, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like she was really tapping into like her Frodo there, and like just the it seemed like this thing was changing her in the way Frodo, when he's holding the ring, and over time he becomes more snappy, and it's like he's clearly not himself anymore. He's being affected by the ring. And I kind of felt like that was maybe what the director said to her, like, hey, be like Frodo in this. Like, just kind of snap a little bit as if this thing's like driving you a little bit mad. So I don't know. Do you think it was the circumstance, or do you think like literally holding that fragment or keeping it around her is also somewhat unraveling her mind?
It's definitely doing something, and we don't know the extent of like what this thing can do, right? I mean, this is an unknown element that's not natural to this to Earth, right? So I mean, when you're looking at this thing that was in the possession of this tribe for so long, and they were taking care of it, they obviously understood it and they knew what they were doing with it. In the context of this little girl, I don't know, like you're dealing with energies that are forcing you to be afraid, and Pennywise is there to like mess around with your mental state. And so when you're dealing
Mm-hmm.
with something that can inhibit that and actually like shield it, then I think it's going to have other effects too. I could be reading too much into it, so it really depends. One of my favorite things was when she was in the classroom, and again, no one else can see what's going on, but that thing is glowing because Pennywise is actually there fucking with her, and I
Right.
really like that. So that kind of helps you understand, like, and just see like, okay, this is actually a real time event going on.
Did she not have the fragment on her in that moment?
She did. She had it on her lap.
I feel like, how was it then that Pennywise was able to get so close to her?
I think like it's the same distance too, right, from where he was before in the sewers when he was like present there. But I think like he was just able to. He couldn't do anything to her directly, but I think he was able to get close enough to just fuck with her.
Okay, he can't like touch her. Maybe that's
I
literally
don't
the
think
limit
he
is like
could.
her skin or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah. He couldn't like put a finger on her. So
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because yeah, in the sewer when it fended him off, she wasn't holding it. It was like yeah, like a couple meters in front of her, or whatever, and that's kind of where he couldn't pass it. Yeah, so
hmm
and that is something that I think as well. Like, was it just because that creature thing was in the desk that other people couldn't see it, or was Pennywise making it so that only she could see that?
Well, that's the thing with Pennywise, because let's say Bev in the first movie, only she, well, I guess the other kids too, but they've had interactions with Pennywise, right? But for her and her dad's point of view, the dad didn't see any of the blood in the bathroom, but Bev did.
Yeah.
So I
To
think
me,
if
the
the
differentiation is usually like just kid adult, but this seemed a bit different because obviously it was a classroom full of kids.
And I think if the other friends were there, I bet you the friends would see it too. Because it's like, I can't remember, Marge was her name, her with the eyes,
Right.
the eye
Right.
situation. And then not Lily was able to see that, right? So I think when they've had experiences with Pennywise, then it's like a shared thing that they can mutually see.
Right. Yeah, and obviously, like part of Pennywise and how he's able to manifest is through the fear angle, and I guess like these other kids who are just in class during the day, and they're surrounded by kids and a teacher, and they haven't had a weird experience. Like they don't really have any fear in that moment. They probably feel very safe in that classroom, so
hmm
they aren't like on edge. Whereas Lily is still kind of tripping out over this huge event that just experienced like yesterday in the sewer.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
that's
surprised she
right.
went to school, but I guess she kind of has to, or else her mom would get mad and send her back to the mental
Juniper
into
Hill,
yeah,
yeah.
Juniper Hill again. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's always just kind of like looming over her, right, and kind of forcing her in these situations. But she turned her back on it. It was like, I'm out. I'm going. Which,
Yeah, yeah. Even though,
oof.
but yeah, do you think there's going to be any fallout though of her like having this big moment? Because I was really worried that in the classroom, her having this freak out in front of everyone, in front of the teacher, walking out. I was worried. I'm like, oh my god, is she just going to get sent back, and we're just going to do this again, even though she's already been sent there like twice in this series? And then like last time, she just like walked out the next day, and it was such a nothing burger.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to see her kind of go back there, and I
I
don't
don't
think
think we
she
have time.
will.
If there's only 2 episodes, like I don't think we really have the bandwidth to do that, right?
No, no time. I mean, they got a lot that they got to deal with now because they've really kind of escalated the story a little bit in other areas. So her going back to Juniper Hill doesn't really do much. I think it's we even in the flashback sequence we spent time there, and I feel like that just alone kind of like closes that door at Juniper Hill.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
Yeah, I
don't
was
think we're
worried that was
going.
like foreshadow or something. That was like, oh, we're seeing this at the start of the episode. At the start of the episode, you don't really know what it's about, obviously, until you get that scene later. And I was like, okay, are we just setting up Juniper Hill and then Lily's gonna go back there? But obviously, there was a whole lot more. But yeah,
Mhm.
anything else with the kids specifically? I mean, there's things we didn't break down, but like I don't know if there's really a whole lot of sauce there.
No, I mean they're having fun at the club. They're dancing, they're playing drums. They're bonding, which I think that's a great counter to Pennywise and his fear. So I like that, but it's gonna get squashed with fear, with how this episode ended. But other than that, there's really nothing. It just kind of surprised me that they're going alone to their little tower when Pennywise was just chilling there as Maddie. Like that's high risk.
True, yeah, because that thing's like a ton of stairs. Like it's not like you can like quickly flee from that spot. So
hmm
that's a
hmm
good point. I feel like that's not a super safe hideout, but I don't know where it is in this town.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
Hmm.
But other than that, I got nothing. So where do you want to steer to?
Well, really, I think the only thing I had left in my notes was the Pennywise daughter situation. If you want to get there,
Yeah, I like so right off the hook here. Pennywise is individual, a real individual, and we saw photos of this character in the movie, but we don't really know the connection or the affiliation. But we've seen Skarsgård wearing the old like Circus Carney clothing
yeah,
outfit or whatever, so we know that this was a real character, but we didn't know the context. So now it's implied that this entity that's been here since before man has absorbed and taken favor of this person, this carny, this costume, this look, and has kind of incorporated it into his wardrobe, right?
Okay, so that you think it's that he found the entity found a person and thought, "Hey, that's a good person that I can impersonate and kind of fill in as,"
I That's how I took it because it's not
rather
his.
than the entity just like creating this identity and then blending in with the world.
Yes, exactly. Because like it seems like at the start of the show, every time the tribe was fighting the entity, it was always taking the form of this moose, right? This was this kind of like
Yeah.
its form that it liked to do. And yes, it can change its form to make you afraid by being your worst fear. But I think by default, it probably likes being the clown because of kids and the kid factor. And I think that's huge because kids are his
Mm.
target. And being a clown, he can lure them in, and then he can freak them out, right? So.
Yeah, maybe like as an evolutionary type thing of like over the years, over the cycles of this creature, and obviously like through the indigenous tribes kind of passing down like the tales and like how to avoid this thing and protect yourself against it. I guess Pennywise, also the entity, needs to evolve alongside that in order to be able to continue to lure in kids and like keep itself satiated and fed and enough to
Mhm.
come back. So I guess that does make sense over time, just kind of evolving and like what is the best thing? Oh, a human, and what's even better than a human is just straight up like a clown. Even though clowns are like scary, but I guess clowns are like not scary in this world until Pennywise maybe, or maybe we're as a society scared of clowns today because of it. Maybe that's part of it too. I don't know when that started.
I have no idea when it started. I know clowns were never my favorite thing when I was younger. Definitely eerie, but yeah, I like that idea, in an evolutionary sense because they break it down like, hey, it's a predator, and certain predators they want to get you like afraid before they eat you and whatnot. And so maybe it is just a bare bones breakdown of that, where it's just an evolutionary thing, and it just evolved to that point to be a clown to. I mean, exactly as you put it. I could subscribe to that theory, but at the same time, I could see maybe I'm just totally overthinking it and overlooking the what it is for. But I feel like I need a little more context because okay, the Mrs. Kirsch who found out that she she had a father named Pennywise who worked in the carnival. He went missing one day. Carnival moved on, and she stayed behind. So she started working at Juniper Hill when she was young, and then she found out, oh, okay, this little girl's talking about Pennywise in the pipes. This is kind of weird, and so I want to know that reason why he Pennywise is the entity, and maybe that's what a prequel show when we go back could kind of highlight and look at because I think
Yeah.
it would go back to that period of time where we would be able to dive into that a little bit more. And so, that being said, she totally fucks over that little girl, Mabel, which again, that whole scene, very freaky. Love seeing Skarsgård though popping off as Pennywise and him just doing his little hallway glide like freak out
Yep.
thing. It's always terrifying, but
Seeing his actual face like without makeup.
mhm.
Well, there's still some makeup on him, but less of the clown makeup.
Yeah, it was some good stuff. And so she is convinced that he is father, but has this evil spirit that kind of comes out, but it gets satiated, and her real dad comes out again when it gets the kids. So I think, okay, this is a complete ploy. The father is not there anymore. Pennywise, the entity, is just using her to get her to bring him kids in an
Mm.
isolated environment
Oh
because
yeah.
it's the same thing with how he uses people like Bowers in the movie just to go and like kill people and do his bidding. And I think here it's like, yeah, I will give you your father figure if you
Yeah.
give me kids. And there was a brief moment where Mrs. Kirsch is standing there with Mabel, and he's like, "Oh, you brought a friend," and like Mrs. Kirsch is like, "Papa," and Pennywise has this weird expression, like he's curious about this, but he shrugs it off right away and goes to try and kill Mabel, and they run off. But just the way he does that expression, I really liked it because I feel like to me, okay, and the way I read the scene, yeah, he's playing her. He's like, I'm gonna see this as an opportunity. I'm gonna use it because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a predator. So
Yeah, and I feel like he the entity itself is kind of unraveling to some extent until it feeds. And so I feel like, eating the kid and then like maybe thinking, okay, how can I turn this situation into something that's like in my advantage if I now go into the dad form of this character? Maybe I can lure them in. So maybe he just like didn't even. He was just too hungry, He was just throbbing too much to be able to do anything other than just like, I gotta devour this kid first, and then I can think about like a long-term plan here. But yeah, like, do you think that this is the first time, or the first human, I suppose, that Pennywise has decided to like absorb and then kind of use his attributes as like a way to blend in? You think this is the first like human he's done this to?
Ooh, I'm gonna say no, just because he's been here for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like he's done it before. I really do. I mean, heck, he did it with as Maddie, right? He portrayed Maddie, their friend. It was like, come on, like come back with me to the sewers, and to try and
Yeah.
like lure them and kill them. So I feel like again, it's just him. He's playing all the cards.
Yeah, I'm trying to think with like the different flashback sequences. Because we have the other one where he was like that old man in like the woods or whatever, but I think that was like after the circus stuff. That would have been.
Yeah.
It's so hard to track some of these 30-year time jumps, but I think that would have been a later 30-year time jump. But he's, presumably tried it before, but I don't know. Maybe he had to like acquire that over time. Maybe it like he was just munching down on animals for millennia, and then it was like, oh, humans, bigger brains, more fear center in the brain, better blood, maybe he just like acquired that taste over time. I'm not sure.
Well, it's funny how you mentioned that circus episode, because you do see someone dressed up in the Pennywise outfit there. So I'd have to revisit that and see. Maybe that was, but that was after though, because well, no, because he's not his classic Pennywise self yet. So he was just the old man, and he was the other things too. So maybe that was Mrs. Kirsch's father there at the time, because I think it fits with how old those characters are when they were kids in that episode and the circus was there, and you see Pennywise the clown, and then you jump ahead to present day. I think that time kind of fits. April, if you're listening, you're going to have to let us know in the Discord if there's a chance that that character that dressed as Pennywise in the circus in that flashback episode was Mrs. Kirsch's father.
Yeah, so. I was a little I think part of the reasons I was confused is because like the Kirsch present day of this story, when we were, and then we flipped like the black and white. Obviously the black and white kind of obscures exactly what she looks like, but I was like, she doesn't look like 30 years difference. But then when they like afterwards we go back to present and we zoom in, and you can like, okay, I can see like a bit of wrinkles on her face, but like she still seems like kind of young. And then obviously in chapter 1, I don't think we covered this on the podcast, but yeah, like April mentioned to us like, oh, that is the character from, I guess it was chapter 1 or chapter 2. It's always
I think it's chapter 2 when older Bev goes in the apartment and she's creepy old lady.
Yeah, exactly. So that, I guess in this timeline she was 50, and then when in the black and white sequence she was around I guess 20-ish is what we're saying.
I think so. I think that sounds about right.
Yeah. So yeah, really interesting stuff, because I mean I was also, my brain was going all over the place, like how long has Pennywise been in this guy? Did Pennywise impregnate someone like in the guise of this? But I don't know if he has that ability. I don't know if he like inherits their DNA and ability to like, impregnate someone or whatnot. But I'm assuming that more so this guy was the father, had the kid, and then Pennywise, the entity, kind of acquired his body and then like started marionetting as him. And maybe he just has absorbed a bunch of people and he just flips back and forth, and maybe it just took him, as you mentioned, like a minute in that sequence to recognize like, oh, this is the body I absorbed here is this person's father. I just didn't put 2 and 2 together immediately.
Yeah for sure.
So and then the other side of this reveal is that the daughter, which what is her name, by the way? I don't have it written in my notes.
Kirsch or Lily?
Yeah, like, did we have her first name? Yeah, like Mrs. Kirsch.
I just know Mrs.
Because Lily
Kirsch
just calls her Kirsch, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the other part of this is that Lily goes up to her studio in like the attic of her house or whatever it is, and then discovers that Mrs. Kirsch has like a full-on disguise factory going on here. She has the wigs, she has the makeup, she has like the reference images, and this character has been dressing up as Pennywise and going around town. And at least a couple of the times that we've seen Pennywise in this series, turns out it was actually her. So that was definitely the time when she was outside the window when Will saw Pennywise. So that was Kirsch. And what other sequences?
The
'Cause it was
graveyard.
graveyard sequence as well. Okay. Yeah, so a couple times that she's kind of been parading around as this character, which is an interesting reveal. Like I did not expect that because also like especially in that nighttime sequence, Will obviously gets the glimpse, like gets scared, falls on the ground, whatever. Parents come, look at the window, Pennywise is gone. Obviously in that time, it's like you don't need to be supernatural to ditch that quickly. It's also like nighttime. She could have just been hiding behind that tree still. Who knows? But yeah, all stuff that like in hindsight feels believable, and those aren't moments when Pennywise was doing some big crazy thing that only some entity with magic powers could be able to do. So interesting plot point for sure. Like that's kind of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I'm quite blown away by it. How she's just kind of tributing herself in this sense to Pennywise, but again, it makes sense. She wants her dad, and she thinks that every time she gets a kid to this creature, that hey, my dad comes out, and wouldn't you do anything for your dad, kind of a thing. And she's definitely she's got her demons, and she's pretty fucked up. So it'll be interesting to see what
Yeah.
happens. But I kind of like that they made her out this way, and just for the fact that she's absolutely bonkers in the It Chapter 2. So I like that this character that became that weird, creepy granny long legs thing has this kind of demented backstory. But we just need to have it executed properly, and it's not just some botched, butchered narrative. I want them to actually give us a good, with the time they have in two episodes, fleshed out reason. Like, okay, yeah, she's the daughter of this Carney, and this Carney was absorbed by Pennywise. I just need that to be clarified.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like the end of this episode is two big cliffhangers. One is like what's going to happen at the hideout, and then also she gets dressed up again in the attic, and we get like that creepy kind of silhouetted shot. So obviously she's about to go do some stuff. But I forgot to mention this earlier, but I like what you brought up too of like specifically her being affiliated with the with Juniper Hill, because obviously a lot of the people there, they have their demons. They've been going through something, and so I feel like it's like prime time for like finding easy marks for people who have some predetermined fear, something that Pennywise can like almost immediately tap into to screw with them. And yeah, obviously she can kind of get like the intel. She can like scout them out, obviously lure them in some way, but also just like literally has like their doctor file of like, here are all the things that are like categorically quote unquote wrong with this person, and like how can we siphon those out to get like pump that fear cortisol whatever like to the maximum degree. So really interesting kind of snaring system. I don't know, I quite like this bit of lore. I think this is interesting, and obviously we know that she, spoilers, It Chapter 2 exists. Like she survives this. So whatever she's doing next week of going around as a creepy clown doesn't get her shot by a local sheriff or something like that. So clearly she survives through this.
Well, that's the interesting thing. I mean, will she survive? I mean, maybe she becomes something that Pennywise absorbs, and it's just something that, like the Maddie situation.
Oh, yeah, I
Pennywise
guess.
just pops in there as old Mrs. Kirsch.
Yeah, I guess you're right. And then, because Beverly knew Miss Kirsch as a kid too, though, right?
I think so. I need to revisit that in the movie.
And so that would have been, God. Now the math doesn't seem to math, because now this lady, 30 years from now. Okay, so I guess here's what I'm taking it as: when Beverly had interacted with Mr. Kirsch, she was the old lady, in It Chapter 1 timeline. But then the Kirsch in Chapter 2, that is just Pennywise, right? Like the one we see is actually just Pennywise doing creepy shit, right?
I think so, but
because he's doing, he's like teleporting around and like doing Pennywise stuff. But Beverly, I assume Beverly knew or interacted with the actual Mrs. Kirsch, who was like 80 or whatever at the time of Chapter 1. So okay, that's making sense for me now. So I think that was probably part of maybe why Beverly was tripped out when she went there in like Chapter 2 as Chastain, to be like, oh, Kirsch is still here. What's going on? And obviously it was like a destroyed building that she was just misviewing the whole entire time. But okay.
That's right.
That's the headcanon I'm going with, because that kind of makes sense to me. And I just got to latch on to whatever makes sense for me right now.
For sure. You highlighted that ending narrative there where it's the mob's kind of coming to just destroy the hangout place. And the cop too, Bowers, he's no
Yeah.
longer sheriff. The mayor relieved him of his duties, right?
Yeah, and he seemed a little disheveled because of that for sure.
Yeah. So that kind of fits with how, his son and his grandson are in the
Yep.
present It movies, because they're racist and they're mean and all that. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do you think any key players are dying in that interaction if it turns into like a little like war or something?
mm, I think you got a lot of side characters in there right now. And I think if one or two of them might get killed, I don't know. Isn't it on like the military base? It's amazing how they were able to get there. Maybe it's on just the outskirts.
Yeah, it is, but like, I don't think you would go through like, in this episode we saw Will like blast through like one of the security checkpoints past like the safe haven houses. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that one has like a security checkpoint. I think it's just hidden by virtue of it being in the woods on like a beaten off the road beaten path.
Right. Well, the person that tipped him off, I think it was Mrs. Kirch. I think she tipped him off, and she's putting her clothing on, her clown costume, and she's going there because the officer was like, "Yeah, I got a tip from a lady, anonymous, that there's a
Oh, okay,
place
I
where it
missed
could
that.
be." And I mean, the only people that know where he would be Hanlon's wife, and then Mrs. Kirch as well.
Yeah.
So I think Kirch is the one who, while they did sleep together and they connected, I think she's definitely playing him and wants Pennywise to appear there. So she's getting into her suit to watch it happen.
Yeah. I mean, I think, obviously the perspective of the other two guys that we don't really know, they're not key players in the season who are part of this little hideout here. What are they doing? Like they're hiding a guy who broke out of jail here. There's like a bunch of kids hanging out. I feel like they just had this sequence in the sewer where multiple comrades of theirs died. Like, what are they doing? I guess, it's good to have like a party to get everyone's spirits or whatever, but I feel like you don't do it here. Like that one you plan somewhere else. And obviously we've seen that particularly the people setting this up are not like welcome at like the bar and certain places in Derry itself or like the main proper town. But I just feel like timing wise, come on guys, like you should have kicked this down the road a couple weeks to do this big soiree. But I guess they were excited. They finally got the place built up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that's all my notes, Mr. Field.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got. So cool. Right on. It was a good episode.
Yeah, it was.
We're gonna be back next week with the penultimate episode.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you'll see all three of us there. Maybe just two. I don't know. It's a game of roulette with this review. But
Could just be
until
one.
then,
Maybe Kirkman will be
just
here on
be
a
one.
solo. Imagine
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Imagine that.
I can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, until then, have a good one, and we'll see you in the search bar.
Good night.